Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Chatting Breeze, episode 16, I think. Yeah, 16. This week, we got man like Xhelk on the pod. Xhelk, if you follow the label, you'll know him. We just put out a tune with him last week, actually, a free download. And we've done a couple with him in the past, including an EP and another free download. Wicked, it's like speedy trance, techno, absolute powerhouse. And as you will learn from listening to the episode, he has a long history of big trancey bangers, particularly on the psytrance side of things, which I found incredibly interesting. We spoke about loads of stuff in this. Spoke about his origin story. Spoke about how he used to play at psytrance squat parties in London, like big warehouse parties, which was fucking crazy interesting. What else did we speak about? Falmouth. He talked about promoting in Falmouth and all of crazy stories around that, which also was crazy. I had no idea that he'd done all of that. Yeah, I won't spoil the rest of it for you, but super good episode. He's a super jokes guy. And yeah, there is, as always, an extra half an hour of content over on the Patreon if you join the Belters Club at patreon.com/belters, including Party Music, our next compilation, which I haven't properly announced yet, but of kind of sort of, well, it's on Bandcamp, available to pre-order, but I haven't really shouted about it yet. But that whole thing is now on our Patreon. All tunes are all there, ready to download. If you join the Belters Club, you'll be able to access those. So yeah, get after that. What else? Yeah, that's about it really. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll catch up at the end. And yeah, safe. Xhelk.
Yes.
Actually,
Belters.
do you mind closing the door, actually? Perfect. Very professional.
Can you not get your assistant to do that?
You're my assistant.
All the assistants on the side.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, no.
Runner.
Yeah, that's
Tea,
it.
Fetch me a Holston Pills. Oh, thank you so much.
Unreal.
Really earning their wage there.
Yeah, mate, exactly. How the devil are you, Xhelk?
Yes, good, mate. Yeah, good. Just been cycling around Bristol today, which is fun.
Getting those miles in.
Doing the day job, yeah, which is
Chomping
nice.
up.
We can't all make all our money in the industry, you know, like.
Now, that's not what it sounds like, okay, I promise.
What? Oh, yeah.
Getting them nice firm buns on the bike.
Yes, yeah. I always have firm buns. Actually, someone who the other day my housemate was saying she went around to this guy she's seeing his mate's house, and this guy I used to work with was there, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, I know Jack. Yeah, he's got massive thighs, mate. He gets up those hills quick time." I was like, "Oh, right. That's, my reputation precedes me just on my thighs."
To be fair, I've seen that photo of you showed me last night.
I did show, just for the audience reference, I did show Mars a cheeky booty pic last night from when I was on holiday, and well, I won't repeat what you said, but it was quite explicit.
Yeah,
actually.
well, okay, let us know. We're a family show here.
Oh God, I'm screwed then.
Xhelk, for the uninitiated, is, well, how would you describe your sort of brand of like what kind of stuff are you making at the minute?
So Xhelk is like a newish alias, I guess, probably like about a year and a half old.
Is it really that old already?
Something like that. I think I started it when I was in my old house in Easton. So yeah, sort of. But to be honest, the first 8 months or so, I was just I wanted to make faster tunes basically. So I don't know if, obviously I was doing Earthnut before, which was like more on the garage, house garage techno, like slower vibe. And I just, wanted a new alias for like faster, more rave based stuff. So what is Xhelk? It's a silly name, firstly. But it's,
where's the net? It's such a fucking cliche question.
No, it does have a funny origin story, to be fair. So does Earthnut as well. But the Xhelk origin story is already delving away from the family show element. But it is from when I was in Amsterdam. The first and only time I ever went to Amsterdam, I ate a whole load of magic truffles. You know, like the boxes of magic truffles you can buy in Amsterdam. It's like magic mushrooms, but they're like in the truffle form. Yeah. And the guy I was there with, my mate, we went into the shop. We were like, they got all the list of different truffles, and I was like, we're going to get the strongest ones, right? Yeah, we'll get a box each of the strongest ones. So we got them. They're called dragon's breath or something
Satan's
like that.
asshole
Yeah,
or
literally.
something.
And I remember the guy in the shop was like, if you drink them, if you eat them with orange juice, it will like depotentiate them. So it means, you know, they won't come on as strong. They like, it might, you'll have less of a strong trip. But if you eat them with chocolate, like especially dark chocolate, it makes them even stronger. So obviously both of us like really baked in Amsterdam. We're like, right, we're gonna get like the darkest chocolate. We like went around loads of different shops, like, oh, like 60%. No, it's not enough. Like 75. Or we got like this like 92% like cacao chocolate, or whatever. Yeah, ate this whole box of truffles, and yeah, just had like this mental experience, obviously, just in the hostel, didn't even leave because it was so bonkers. But at the end of it, I basically spent the whole like 5 hours like thinking that I was contacting aliens or being contacted by aliens, and like staring at a like loo roll holder that looked like a portal. Anyway. So at the end of this trip, I'd the only remnants I had left was the word Xhelk written in my phone notes, and like in my head that was the language that the aliens were like contacting me in, was like Xhelk. So fast forward literally like 7 years later,
right.
and I was whenever I was looking for this alias, and I'd just made this tune called like Alien Lover. Which I haven't really released. I don't know. It was sort of like an electro tune where I sampled this weird alien abductee like thing on Netflix. Side note, if you ever want a really good watch, it's called Confessions of an Alien Abductee on Netflix.
I think I've seen that like
all
around.
Like British people, and there's this woman called like Charlene in it.
Come on.
Who's like got like Marge Simpson hair.
What?
And she's been abducted for her whole like actual like her hair is like adds a foot of height. It's fucking bonkers. And and she's just like, I saw a triangle large in the sky. All this shit. Anyway, and loves like Kentucky Fried Chicken and telly.
Obviously,
and that's
alien
like when she
abductees
eats
do.
chicken, she's like, oh, the aliens come down. Anyway, side note. So I'd sampled this guy in that who was talking about how he had like an alien lover. And that he was like shagging aliens all the time.
Unreal.
And he'd like drawn all these pictures anyway. So I'd sampled that, and I was just like, oh, I want an alias for this new like kind of techno
sound.
Yeah, and it was all like kind of weird, like slightly alien, spooky techno stuff that I'm trying to do anyway. And I just thought and thought, and do you know what? For years I'd always done like duo stuff or like worked with other people, but I'd never had, apart from like back when I was sort of a psytrance DJ back in the day, which is a whole nother kettle of fish.
Yeah,
We can
I wanted to
maybe
get
open
into
later
that at some point.
But I'd never really had like a solo alias, and even then that was like Fractal Mind, which was my DJ name back then. Was like
that is a
just
very psytrance DJ
so
name.
psytrance. It was started like ironically like what is the most psytrance DJ name? But yeah, so like I'd never had a real solo alias. I think it's something that's quite hard actually. Is like finding something to really call your own. Or for me anyway, I'd always like try and I'd think of things and nothing would like stick.
Yeah.
You know? But then when I just remembered Xhelk, I think it just came to me because I didn't even have that same phone anymore or anything. And I'd just always like that word had like stuck in my mind. And I just thought, like, this sounds just so wanky, right? It just came to me in a premonition from the aliens.
Exactly, they sent it to you,
They
bro.
did, yeah, they literally did.
It must have been real.
Yeah,
it must have been.
Got probed in Amsterdam.
Yeah, come on. My God.
But so that's the origin story of Xhelk. Yeah, that's how it came about.
What an opening to the show, man. Jesus. That's probably the best opening 5 minutes we've had
Brilliant.
so far on
Okay,
Chatting Breeze. We're going to wind back a bit before we get to Xhelk and chat about the Earth Nut thing, because that was quite a large part of your like musical sort of career so far.
Yeah, so Earth Nut is like duo project that I did with my mate Jack, aka Leechy, aka Garage Goth, aka DJ Gary.
Nice. Why DJ Gary?
Oh God, I can't even remember. There's some stupid. Basically, everyone started calling him Gary, and like then when I did Xhelk, he was like, "I need a solo alias," and we were like, "Mate, Gary is the only right like thing for this moment."
Unreal.
So yeah, he's Gary now. He's gonna hate me for that.
Sorry,
he's
Gary.
Such a Gary. But anyway, love you, Leechy. And but yeah, so that was a sort of duo that we started in uni together. And yeah, at the time it was just like when kind of just before garage started like coming back around. When it was, I don't know, we were listening to a lot of like old Groove Chronicles and LB and stuff like that, like old garage. But the more kind of rolling, like slightly more experimental style of garage, I guess, like less so than the commercial stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of proto garage and that sort of like dubstep crossover era as well. And yeah, we just started. I mean, I was studying music, but Leechy was doing journalism, but he was really into music and into garage and was showing me loads of this wicked music as well. So yeah, we just got together, started making tunes. And yeah, it just sort of, like, I don't know, I think it was about 6 years to this moment where since we've been doing Earth now. Definitely like slowed down a bit after uni, because obviously like when you're at uni, you have nothing to do. We just like sat, smoked a copious amount of hash.
We were literally saying this yesterday
all the time.
It's like when you're at uni, all you do is hang out with your fucking mates.
hang out with my mates, smoked hash on a red sofa called the slut bed. And yeah, we just would make tunes all the time. And so yeah, like now we've kind of moved away from garage a bit with the Earth Night stuff as well. We actually had a release come out on Faux Poly the other day it's a remix of a Jay Carter track. So go check that one out.
Right, I'll put it behind us on the green screen.
That one's called Eva's Stone. That's a remix of a Jay Carter track, which
is... that finally get released, that one?
Yeah, so
nice.
That's on Faux Poly, which is Cassian's label, who they're smashing it at the moment. Really, really cool, like techno duo from London. And yeah, so that's sort of like kind of more the sound that we've delved into now, and we've been trying for years and years to put together a live set, and it is slowly happening. We've got like basically all the hardware that we need now. We just need more time. Classic adult life. But yeah, so again, we sort of moved away a lot from the garage. I mean, we did really well with the garage, don't get me wrong. Like I think we really caught the wave.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say. You were sort of right at that perfect time, right before people were actually thinking shit, we should maybe get onto this.
Literally,
like you were having quite a bit of like success with it early on, right?
For sure, yeah. And I think that's like, again, yeah, it was just like really good timing. We really got into garage just as that massive resurgence happened with like like Conductor pushing Kiwi and all of these things that were happening.
Did you work with Kiwi for a little bit?
We played, funnily enough, the first ever so we played the Kiwi tour in Plymouth, I think.
What year was our first?
Oh God, man, I'm terrible with dates, but probably around 2017, 2018, something like that.
Wow, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and so that was when they did their sort of tour. We played with like Virgie and Conductor and other people. And yeah, and then we also, so funnily enough, to get like back to Falmouth where it all sort of began, we played our first ever gig. We got booked by Sweatshop Audio, who was our mates that were doing, we were sort of on the periphery of it. We weren't like directly involved with the events brand, but it was all our mates. We would like play events and I'd work on the door and do stuff like that. And, we would always be at all of those events for Sweatshop. And yeah, it was pretty mental, really, because they booked Conductor for his first ever Kiwi gig before he'd even announced Kiwi.
Really?
And that was his first. It was that in Falmouth in a rugby club.
So that was the first ever Kiwi.
Yeah, we used to book these like, or they used to book these people. I wasn't really involved in the booking, but they brought down Alex Perez to a rugby club. Fucking like our first gig, we supported Conductor, and then we played another one where we were supporting like Distinct. Remember Distinct? He's sort of fallen off a bit now, but back when, I mean, just before that, I was playing loads of bassline. So actually, thank God, garage kind of saved my life, because I know you love bassline. Actually, so
come on, right? Yeah, what are you trying to say about bassline?
No, I always played good bassline. Big up Off Me Nut Records.
Come on.
But yeah, so. Yeah, so we were doing these mad events in the ass end of Cornwall, like in a rugby club, putting a Function One sound system into this rugby club, booking like Alex Perez. We had like Sir Spyro. Funny story with Sir Spyro actually was, so we had him come down. He's like quite a kind of strange dude.
Right.
Before we got to the gig, like
classic dubstep DJ.
Yeah. Before we got to the gig, like I think he was like smoking weed in his like 4-star hotel room.
Come on.
Ended up like, I think they told him, they were like, oh, you're going to get like fined for this and we'll just have to take it out of his fee. So he paid like £300 just to have a spliff in his hotel room, which is hilarious.
Fucking fair play, yeah. Respect, I guess.
But yeah, so he was playing, and our mate sort of went up and he was really pissed, and he was like on the mic while Sir Spyro was playing, going like come on, like shouting, like it was like proper cringing me out. I was just stood on the side. So I was like, I need to go and like rectify this situation. So I just went on stage, like took the mic out of his hand. It's like there, like the lights behind me, like the crowd in front of me, Sir Spyro dropping the fattest like grime beats ever. And I was just like, yes, come on Falmouth, how we feeling? And then from that moment I was like, oh, I've officially MC'd for Sir Spyro.
Yes!
Like that is big
Put that on your fucking
moment in my,
CV,
yeah, that is
mate.
on the seat, that's at the top, yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's so funny. But yeah, it was just wild, like those times really, just bringing these artists down. Like we had what other funny stories? We had J-Line and Upgrade come down when we did. they weren't really into jump up, but then I think there was another group of promoters that would book in loads of jump up artists.
Yeah.
And so they did this like collaborative event where they got J-Line and Upgrade to come down, and J-Line was, oh my God. Can I slag off producers on this?
Mate, you can say whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, it just might land on me.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's separate from my own opinion.
This is not the opinion of the official
I'll put a
Belters
little
podcast.
disclaimer at the bottom.
No, he was lovely, but it was just so funny. He was clearly there. Like, he was trying to shot, like, I'm just going to say drugs all night to like a lot of these kids that were going to this rugby club were probably, you know, we used to have a lot of break-ins. People would climb through windows. So we get like college age kids, like 17-year-old, like Cornish boys like there. So he's J-Line swanning around trying to sell bag all night. And then he's, sorry.
No, mate, it's fine.
And he's got like 2 like girls on his arm the whole night who were literally like both in their 40s and like thigh high, like stripper boots, like all just like, you know, it was just the most next level thing.
Oh,
and
my
I looked at it, I just
goodness.
thought like that's the like arc of a jump up DJ. I think like you never like you can take the man out of jump up, you can't take the jump out.
Where
DJ
does it go?
out of
Where does it go from there?
No, literally. But I sat in the back of my mate Joe Kneebone. Shout out Joe Kneebone,
Come on.
DJ outfit. But yeah, sat in the back of his car with J-Line and his ladies smoking a zoot and
Come
getting
on.
off and shit from J-Line.
Oh my
Just funny, like,
goodness.
I don't know, I think it was almost a lot of these artists felt very caught off guard because they kind of come down to like a gig that they'd never normally play. Because they're in, like, they've travelled all this way. They're just at, like, in a rugby club, surrounded by, like, all these kind of jumped up youths that have never, like, this is the best thing that has ever come to their town, you know? Like, it's like that or, like, the fair. And that is it.
Literally. I was going to say, yeah, because, like, obviously, it was Falmouth, right, in Cornwall?
Yeah, Falmouth.
Like, yeah, was there much, like, happening other than the events that these crews were putting on? Did it feel like you were doing that out of, or at least the people that were doing that were doing it out of, like, necessity for just having a good party?
Yeah, I mean, that was like both the blessing and the curse, I think, of that place. Why I left eventually was that there wasn't anything going on, but that was also amazing because everything that happened was DIY. So it's not like Bristol where, you know, even if you want to become a promoter here, like, you've got to cut through the noise, you know. There's so much going on all the time. There's, you know, even I, like, it's not even the end of January yet, and I'm always already like, oh my God, I've been to too many events. Like, I've got too much stuff in my calendar. This guy's playing this time. I want to see this set. Like, it's knackering, you know. There's so much going on, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, Falmouth was incredible because like those events wouldn't have happened if like the Sweatshop Boys and everyone that was involved hadn't been like, look, we want to create something.
Yeah,
and even now, like with the sort of like legacy that got left behind with Inner Circle, who are the sort of promoters that are doing it down there now, absolutely smashing it. You know, they've been running like events at festivals. They're like, yeah, they're just like really killing it. So there is so much space in those sort of places, like slightly more rural places for dance music to thrive if like you can create your own scene. But the thing is, like, as a producer or as a DJ, like, it does just get stagnant as well because you've just got these you know, there's not like as many opportunities for anything. I mean, regardless of whether you're in the music industry, like, you know, couldn't even get a bloody job at Lidl if you were skinny, you know? So there's less opportunities like going on down there, which was a blessing and a curse. I don't know, we had this whole thing. So me and Leachy, the other half of Earth Nut, we used to do this thing called the Falmouth House Party Collective. And so he had this like tattered old suitcase and he had like 2 KRKs and a subwoofer. We used to just get a call at like 1 a.m. Like someone would ring us like, right, it's like the bat signal goes up.
Yes.
The Falmouth House Party Collective. And yeah, so someone would call up and be like, look, we need a DJ, the party's popping off, like we're having a house party, get down here, bring the sound, and like you can hop on, you can play whatever. So we go down with our little controller and our like sub and the KRKs in a massive suitcase, probably already like absolutely off our nut anyway. Like, so we'd be like dragging the suitcase. So she's like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. I'm dragging, because it's really hilly there as well. So he's like dragging this like suitcase up the hills. But yeah, that was amazing. Like, it's just stuff like that pops up. Unfortunately, that did end up like fizzling out because the KRKs and the sub just started sounding like farts. Because we just like ragged them so hard that it was just like every time.
and that was the end of the
That was it. I
House
was like,
Party
well, yeah,
Collective.
we've spent all our money on hash, so we can't actually afford any more KLKs.
Oh, what do we do?
But yeah, no. So I don't know. It is like
I guess it's like a grassroots sort of like party culture that when you're like younger and when you're like sort of starting out in music is like very exciting because you do get like I feel like you get more of an opportunity to sort of get involved in like what's happening when you're like starting out in those sort of scenes. Whereas like, I feel like in like a bigger city, when you get started, you're more of an observer until you get to a certain point. You know, like you probably got the chance to play a lot more there early on than you would have if you were in somewhere like Bristol or London or whatever.
Yeah, and I think it is hard, like, because it's so DIY and like homegrown, everyone knows each other. So like it's easier to get in with the right people. There's a bit less of that like sort of like clout chasey vibe of like, oh well, this person knows this person, and like it's less cliquey, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, it's easier just to do stuff. I mean, obviously, you know, there's also like a lack of venues, which is something, you know, even in Bristol,
you
we
were
have that anyway.
In a rugby club.
Yeah, so like, and noise restrictions as well. You know, we couldn't go later than I think maybe 1 or 2.
Right.
But even then, we used to absolutely rag those function ones in that rugby club. Whole building
Where were
used
they
to
from?
vibrate.
There was a place that rented them nearby, or
It was, oh God, I can't remember the name now of the sound system. So we had, what was his name? He was really sweet, the guy. I can't remember his name. But yeah, he was just a local guy, had a sound system. Really nice, obviously, like proper function ones. And then we had, there's someone else, is it Noise Pollution that had like the turbos, which I think they're Falmouth based. They do a lot of stuff. They always have their sound system at Boomtown and stuff. So there was that like, there is like a sound system culture down there as well. And like there is like a culture, obviously it's like an arts uni, but beyond that as well, there is like, I guess like kind of an alternative vibe down there. There's like people, you know, have always been bringing down cool artists. Like it's quite funny, and you get in Falmouth every summer there's the Falmouth Reggae Festival, a massive reggae festival. They bring down like really big artists, right? And so I think like part of that is that there's like a Falmouth in Jamaica. I think it's in Jamaica.
Really?
Yeah. So like a lot of these artists are like, oh, I've got to go to like the Falmouth in the UK, and like they just come down.
That's awesome.
I saw the Mighty Diamonds. I saw like
mental
Eka Mouse, although he's slightly cancelled now, I think.
Is he? I don't pay attention to reggae. Sort of popular culture, but
I think he's up to some mischief. But anyway, but yeah, so it's really
crazy.
Cool. It's a really cool place, and like I think so much of like obviously everything with Earthnut, like even the way that sound develops down there, it was like kind of really influenced by that like need to do everything DIY, but also like everyone's really experimental with whatever they're doing because it's quite like. I don't know, there's a lot of artists and people that are like studying down there, but then also you've got that real juxtaposition of like you're living in a town, but the sea is right on your doorstep. It's very rural, it's very beautiful. So like, I don't know, for example, a lot of all the Earthnut stuff, especially originally, like our sound was really influenced by our surroundings and by like Cornish life in a way. Like we'd use a lot of like found sound from like the ocean and the sea, and like a lot of our like atmos and like rises and stuff in tracks would use like waves and stuff like that. So I think, I don't know, that was one of those ways as well that we got like, in some ways we got lucky, we like, you know, jumped on it there and then, but we were kind of some of the only people doing the more like experimental garage stuff at that point. And trying to like, I don't know, I think as well because we were like kind of, well, I don't know, mate. I don't know whether this is like, I guess everyone has so much self-development with like music production, right? But when I look back on then, I feel like I was a lot more gash as a producer, right? I don't really know what I was doing, but like in many ways, that like lack of knowledge of like technical production left more room for like weird accidents and experimentations to happen. So I think a lot of those like early initial like Earthnut tracks, we kind of didn't know what we were doing, and like that really helped us, I think. And people really like, I don't know, definitely felt like there was like a sound to that project, which is the hardest thing to like get as a producer, is like really honing in on a sound. But yeah, we're definitely more to come with Earthnut. I think, you know, Leachy lives in Bristol now, which is great. He wasn't here before. So we've got a week of production sessions coming up where we're just going to smash out a bunch of Earthnut.
Nice.
But again, it's like, we're not really making garage anymore. I just think garage is like, in my mind anyway, just fizzled out a lot when just speed garage started getting like becoming the thing. Like I love two-step garage. That's what I've always been into. Like give me like a weird, like offbeat, like kind of
super swung
beat.
drums,
super swung, and like it just turned into this like same speed garage shuffle with the same respace over it and another like bootleg.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it felt like where at first like our experimentation with the Earthnet sound was like helping us cut through and like make some noise and people were noticing that, then we got stuck in a bit of a rut where we're like, oh, we just have to make like bait speed garage if anyone's gonna like book us.
That's such an interesting point, the way that like initially when the sort of rise was coming in like the garage scene, when it was starting to get more popular, you were sort of being, you know, this experimentation was sort of like lauded as like being this like good thing, and now maybe it feels that that's not the case, and that you feel like maybe you have to sort of fit into this box to be able to be like appreciated like in the space.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because like the speed garage conversation is one that I've had with so many fucking people now, and like I think obviously there are still people that are doing it, and there are still people that are making like really like high quality stuff.
Yeah.
But it's become a very, very saturated market now.
100%.
And like it's like it goes back to what you were saying about the most important, like one of the most important things for being a producer is having your own distinct sound, and I think that has been lost for the most part in a lot of the new speed garage that we're seeing coming out. There's so many tracks that I could listen to, and I wouldn't be able to like tell you sort of what makes it unique to whoever sort of made it, you know?
Yeah. I think, I mean, look, like, you know, we're not the only ones. There's so many of those people on that first wave. Like, look at Longies, like just doing Hard House now. People like Drinks on Me, like I don't know, so many artists. I think just got a bit sick and tired of it and realized that it was like, it just was becoming the speed garage club. And if you weren't doing that, then like, you know, you wouldn't get booked if you were just making two-step. And I don't know, I'm kind of like, I'm not that sad about it because look, like garage has come and gone like so many times before in the past anyway. Like, obviously massive in the 90s, then kind of like, it's never stopped, right? So there's always going to be new interesting stuff to listen to, but it's like, it is that like very natural cycle of how things like get like styles, genres, whatever, get like regurgitated, and then like it gets oversaturated, becomes too popular, dies again, goes back underground, like comes back. You know, it happened with, you know, like Proto Garage and Future Garage, and then like that was all kind of, you know, I think now it just really did reach that like mad peak where it was like everyone was just making garage. And I still love it, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, techno for me left more room for like experimentation, because like what even is techno, you know, like, and we still make garage, but like we've maybe make a track with two-step drums and a bunch of swing, but then, you know, we're not putting like organs and some like vocal stabs in it. We're like maybe trying to make some interesting synthesis stuff or whatever. And, you know, I think, I don't know, especially with like us getting more into hardware, that's kind of where we always wanted to go. We wanted to do like the live stuff, and that like doesn't lend itself to garage anyway, because garage is like primarily like sample based, right? So most like classic garage tracks are like just sampling like 100%. Old tunes or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was like a very natural progression. But yeah, it just did get a bit boring, didn't it really? Like,
when were you a Psytrance DJ then? I can't fit that into your timeline at all.
Okay, so
is that before?
Show my age now.
Yeah, Jesus, here we go. 2003.
Nearly as old as Longies now. I think I'm older than him actually.
Are you actually older than Dan?
How old's Dan? 28.
28.
I'm 29.
Fucking hell!
Yeah, older than Dan. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pretend that I'm gonna pretend that I wasn't surprised there.
Listen, I'm young at heart.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. So that was sort of my first experiences with like raving, I guess. I was always into dance music. I don't know, I think a lot of like some of the first records I actually remember listening to are like psychedelic records. So like Go Ahead, when my dad had like a Go Ahead Volume 2 like CD. Just funny actually, the first time I ever DJ'd was at my dad's 40th birthday party, and they had like this, like my dad had done this whole like array of different dishes for like every year of their life to like represent what was happening in that year, right?
Sick.
And one of the years was a bowl of magic mushrooms. I don't know why magic mushrooms keep coming up so much in this podcast, but anyway. And so I was 11 at this time, right?
Oh my God.
And so yeah, like my dad had got their friend James to like DJ the whole night, and James had been sat next to this bowl of magic mushrooms and just snacking away, like nomming them. And like got to sort of like midnight and was like, look, like Jay's, and my dad was like, I'm too fucked to like DJ. Like I'm not gonna be able to do it. And my dad was so disappointed, like, oh, you know. And little 11-year-old me, so up at midnight watching all the grown-ups eating magic mushrooms, was like, I'll do it. So I remember just like, I think like James just had like a little laptop set up, and I was just putting like CDs in that were like a mixture of like CDs I had, so like Green Day and like Korn and like anything, right? And then like playing those, and then sort of playing like all of these old like trance CDs and stuff that my dad had, so like Goa music and old trance techno stuff from the 90s. So yeah, that was like my first ever experience DJing.
When you were 11, did you say?
Yeah, just playing for these like all these adults that were all tripping. Like, whoa. So yeah,
God.
it's in my blood, man. But yeah, so I think some of those first records, and then I was really into dubstep. But yeah, I'd always loved dance music, but I'd never like really, I guess I'd never gone raving until I was sort of, 18, 19 was when you start going out anyway.
Yeah.
But I got sort of invited to this party by some friends who I used to go to like a Saturday music school thing called CYM, do like classical music stuff there. These two girls that I used to sort of hang out with at lunchtime, became good friends with them. They were like, oh, well, we've been going to these raves in London. Like, do you want to come to one? And I sort of had no idea what to expect. I got like one weekend, I was like, oh, I'm free this weekend, got taken there. And it was just these, mental psychedelic parties.
Like squat parties?
Yeah, like squat raves in warehouses, but just playing like psychedelic music. I mean, I ended up going to all sorts of squat parties and that was what I did for those 2 years until I completely burnt out from that very unsustainable lifestyle of going to squat parties every weekend. But yeah, that was my first ever experience of like, I guess like rave music playing out of a rig. Maybe I'd been to like some like festivals or stuff when I was younger, but just like with my parents or something. But yeah, and it was high tech, which is this sort of quite niche genre of like dark psytrance, but that's really high BPM. So ranging from about like 165, 170 all the way up to 200 plus BPM.
Wow.
Right? So really like drilling, crazy, like very like, not necessarily always dark, but really, overstimulating, crazy, loads of psychedelic sounds and stuff, serious drugs music, basically.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Fuck, yeah.
And I sort of went, and that was my first experience. And I remember feeling like, whoa, that was intense, but it really made me feel something. I was like, wow, I really love that. And I remember being on the bus home, and all I could hear, I was sat on top of the engine, and all I could still hear was like, all that stuff going on. So I was like on my way home, I was like, wow, it really like literally implanted itself in my 100%. Brain.
Do you think that being your first sort of foray into dance music has had an effect on your taste and stuff going forward?
Definitely, yeah. I'm really into like psychedelic, hypnotic stuff, and like even all the kind of techno and Xhelk stuff I make. Even if it's like a donk track or whatever, something a bit more like tongue-in-cheek or silly, I'll still try and make it a bit of a journey. That's something I'm at least trying to impart into my music. But so fast forward like a year later from that party, and I just decided, I was like, right, I love being on the dance floor, but I want to be on the other side. I want to like try DJing. I had like, at that point I'd like spent quite a lot of time making loads of friends and had some mates that were DJs or, music producers. I started out, I actually played, so my first ever gig was at a rave in Black Horse Road, that's it, in sort of northeast London. Mm-hmm. And I got booked for a mate of mine called Glenn for this rave called Bassface, big up Glenn. And he booked me to play, I think it was probably like maybe the like 11 till 12 or like, early slot in the night. Yeah. And it was like a 2-room. It had like a drum and bass room and then a side trance.
Was
room.
It like a licensed thing or like a?
No. It was just a squat there that had been squatted for a few months. They were putting parties on there. There's photos of me somewhere. It's so funny because back then I was a bit of a late bloomer. I think I literally looked about like 13.
Really?
So I was like complete baby face, like little cherub cheeks, and I'm there like playing this like crazy. Well, actually, that's it. I wasn't playing high tech. I was playing more kind of like slower, slightly more like happy, fluffy psychedelic stuff.
I've got to see those photos. What the fuck?
It's amazing. Funny. I'll show them to you afterwards. But there's some photos of me like DJing back then where I was like, I don't know, if I'd been in the crowd, I think it would have spun me out, like who got their kid on the decks, do you know what I mean? But that was my first ever set, and even back then I didn't even Like I was literally cheesing it because I was just DJing on Ableton. I didn't learn how to DJ on decks initially. I think I had some really old like Newmark CD decks that were like my older brothers or something that I'd sort of practiced on a bit, but they were a bit broken and I didn't really know how to use them. So I just had Ableton on my laptop, on my MacBook, and I would go and I had a little sound card, which is mental that I was taking my fucking laptop to these raves as well, like where people are literally getting like shanked and like all sorts of mental stuff going on, especially the drum and bass ones.
Jesus.
Yeah, very gang, horrible vibes. But yeah, so yeah, I would have Ableton, I'd have all my tracks, and then I just like had a little MIDI controller, not like a DJ controller, but just one with little knobs and sliders on it that I could just cut the bass on this side, play it. And so I'd just mix on Ableton. So I did that for the first few months.
Wow.
And then I bought off a mate of mine, Andre Ground, yeah, big up, shout out.
Come on, getting the shout out.
So yeah, he was a kind of psychedelic DJ, and he I think I bought his CDJ 100s off him with a Newmark mixer for like I think it was like 90 quid or 100 quid.
Bro,
or something.
you are old, aren't you?
Yeah. So I learned to mix on CD, bro. I don't even know if they have those anymore.
Oh my goodness.
I was mixing on VHS. No, so it was wild. So yeah, then I started learning to mix on CDs and would play on CDs. I'd have my CD case with all my CDs and I'd write, because obviously there's no sync on the CD, so I'd write the BPM of every track so that I would know like when I was playing, especially when I was a bit off my rocker, but I was playing like, right, this is 6 BPM, and I could kind of do the maths in my head and work out like how to mix, because I wasn't like, I don't think I'd practiced long enough to really just, mix beat match by ear at that point. So yeah, it was all like all this stuff. That was sort of like, those first like few years of DJing. I was mixing on CDs, playing like crazy psychedelic music in these mental squat parties and just feeling kind of completely out of my depth, but kind of loving it, and like probably not even getting paid for half of them, or like, the promoter would come and just put a lump of like weed in my hand at the end or something and be like, oh, thank you. It's like sketchy Portuguese promoters.
Such a fucking trial by fire, that. Like, like every gig you play now must be like a fucking walk in the park. Like,
unless the CD breaks.
Well, of course.
CDJ breaks.
So,
so still get dodgy equipment and dodgy promoters everywhere. But like,
fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was like, it was kind of completely different experience to just like, you walk into a club and you see your mates there and you go and you can like put your bag backstage somewhere or whatever. This was like, you get on the tube for 2 hours and you're like, call in the party line. If you're lucky, they've told you where it is before. If not, you're just got the party line and you're like trying to work out where it is and you're following the sound of the bass. But those were some of the best parties I've ever been to, because it's just mental. Like it is just like the music's so loud, the sound systems are so massive, like the beats are fat.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know. Like it was an amazing time, and I've not been to a squat party for years and years and years now. But yeah, it's very different to like what my experience of DJing is now. And I think it's funny as well because some of the biggest crowds I think I ever played to were in those first 2 years of me DJing.
How big how many people were there?
Probably, it really depended, but like some of the big ones were easily probably 1,000 people in a warehouse.
Wow.
Come and go over like maybe a 24, 48 hour period, because they would go on and on as well.
Yeah. How long would you spend there at your average one? Like,
I mean, at my peak like hedonism years, I would probably go, to put it into context, sometimes your set time would be 4 till 6 p.m. on a Sunday. And the party's been going, you got there at 11 p.m. on the Saturday night, and then you're there for, getting mash up for 11 hours before your set.
Have to play,
and then you got to play. Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely probably had some of my biggest crowds, biggest clangs, but
that'd be the title of your autobiography.
Yes, no, perfect. Make a note of that.
So are you from London originally? That's how you managed to.
Yeah, I grew up in London, grew up in South East London. So yeah, but yeah, it's wild times, man. Very.
And then when did you move to Bristol? How long were you sort of doing that? And did you go to Bristol straight after after that sort of phase, or?
Yeah, so I got to Bristol.
Actually, no, you went to uni.
I went to uni,
right,
so I got to Bristol after uni. So I got to Bristol just before lockdown.
Right.
So I was actually in Falmouth for like 5 years.
Okay.
Which was, I don't know. I could never live in London anymore. Like,
really? Why not?
It's just too mental. It's so hectic. Like Bristol's such a perfect in between of like, I loved Falmouth because it felt a bit like a village and everyone kind of knows each other and it's small and it's nice. You can walk everywhere. But like also then that ends up being your kind of downfall because then like what it takes is you like piss off the wrong person or like shag someone and then, you know, then you just get dirty looks in the street. So Bristol's like that perfect medium for me where it's like, you know, there's rarely a day I go out in Bristol and I don't see a mate I know, but also like, it's kind of chilled, but there's loads going on. Whereas like London, I go there now. Honestly, I go to London, I just like miss my stop on the tube, like freak out, start like heavy breathing. Like I'm not a Londoner anymore at all. So those days of me going and party. To be fair, I do still go party in London. I go and play. God, I wish I go and dance at Fold. Which is
you love Fold,
mental, amazing techno club, like queer techno club in London, which, yeah, I mean, fingers crossed, hopefully, that is like one of my DJ goals is that I would love to play in Fold one day. And I'm working on like, with the Xhelk stuff, and especially at the moment, I'm making like a lot more just like raw techno, you know, actually slowing it down a bit. I've been making a lot of the tunes I've been doing recently are like between like 150 and 156 sort of BPM.
Yeah,
so
because
like,
you make fucking fast
I was
shit,
doing,
bro.
everything was like over 160 before. And yeah, I've just been listening to a lot more like that sort of like, quite tribal, still quite fast, but like quite groovy, like tribal percussive techno stuff. A lot of thanks to a lot of like actually the sort of stuff that you and like Longies have been listening to and playing out and sort of been inspiring my listening as well. But yeah, I would love, that is one of my like major DJ goals is to one day play the Walls of Fold. I've had my tune played in Fold by Malati, shout out Malati, boom boom.
Come on, name dropping big time.
played my No Scrubs like edit, which is available on SoundCloud if you want to. I keep looking in the camera.
Nah, mate, get onto it. Get
Camera
onto
3.
it. Yes.
But yeah, but yeah. So like that was cool because Xhelk actually was like, it came to me not like the whole thing with the name, but like just the idea that I wanted to start a solo project came to me when I was at Fold because. Yeah, I was actually listening to one of Malati's sets there and just being like, oh, that gave me shivers.
Sorry, bro. I was
don't fret me with a good
gonna
time.
do it on the mic, but I thought I would want to interrupt you.
But yeah, so I was dancing there and I just suddenly thought like, God, I really want to make like fast, kind of trippy music again, but that's not psytrance. And yeah, so that sort of was wicked that within a year of starting that project, I'd had like a tune played there where
so good.
I kind of thought of the idea to like start making that sort of music on that dance floor, which is cool. So like fingers crossed, hopefully just got to keep smashing out the techno, like get more releases under my belt. And yeah, would love to play there one day.
You've had a couple releases under Xhelk, right?
Yeah, so I've had a couple with you.
You've had a couple,
Bicycle and... God, I always forget the names of my own tracks. The one with the Drake
Calling My Name.
Calling My Name, that's it.
And we've got another one coming soon, right?
Yes, we've got another one coming soon. Yeah, which I need to send to you, actually.
Yeah, please send that to me. Yeah.
Yes.
That might be out, actually, by the time this goes up.
Oh, do you reckon? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll chat after, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and then... Yeah, I'm just sat on a bunch of technos. I mean, we were sort of talking about this yesterday, weren't we? Like, trying to find the right labels to release stuff on. It is tricky as... Like, especially when you're just starting a new sort of alias or a new project, like, I think even, especially for me, like, I don't know, a lot of the stuff I was making was very like multi-genre. I was actually talking to Castle about this yesterday and how he was sort of saying he was chatting to Business Techno Institute guy, what's his name? Anyway,
I can't remember. I actually can't remember his real name.
Squidward.
But yeah, Handsome Squidward.
But yeah, he was chatting to him about like the importance of aliases and the importance of like, you know, for me, I always thought, oh, well, one, it's a social media thing for me, right? The idea of having multiple aliases and having to keep on top of multiple things and all this stuff, it is quite like daunting.
Yeah.
But he, you know, Business Techno Institute was chatting to Castle about the sort of importance of like having that brand and really like having quite a like distinct, like not just sound, but like, you know, not actually like a lot of multi-genre DJs, you kind of struggle to like captivate the market because a lot of people like, you know, they just want, a lot of people are just interested in like listening to one type of music. And if you're like releasing, obviously some people get away with it, but if you're releasing loads of different genres and different sounds and you've not like got a cohesive sound and cohesive brand, like it can kind of throw off listeners and they'll just go, oh, this is, you know, it's like too challenging or whatever. And obviously you shouldn't, you shouldn't make music for the listeners. You should make music for, this is like a famous thing, what is like Rick Rubin always says this, but like you should, like, if you're making music for the listeners, like, you're doing it wrong. You should just be making it for yourself, and then that's when like the listener will appreciate what you're doing. But like it's hard because you've got to walk the line between being like authentic to yourself as an artist, but also like brand and all this stuff and social media and everything. It's like plays a massive part in like being like an artist or being in the music industry in general these days.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's hard for me. I think I'm still kind of like with all the techno stuff, especially, like I do want to find like the right labels who I know are going to like push the sound that I kind of want and I feel is like authentic to me, but also not kind of like restrict me in a way that's like, this label just releases like hard techno with screech sounds in it or whatever. Or like, I want to find labels who are like releasing cool tunes, but also will like, do just put out techno. It's hard. It's like, again, oversaturated, isn't it?
So tough. And I think it's definitely something that I've noticed, like now that I'm also going through a similar thing, like trying to sort of alter the sort of sound and like alter my sort of like sort of music that people associate with the label. Is it's like trying to find places that will like, I was chatting about trying to find places to like premiere my tracks, because I feel like a lot of the time, saying now, for example, I was to message like a trance or a techno label and say, I'm looking for a premiere for this compilation I'm putting out, and send it across to them, they would go on and like, even though they might like some of the tunes, they'd probably go in my back catalogue and see.
They'd see you going, help, I'm being eaten by a shark.
I mean, that's still my brand, if I'm being completely honest.
That is still the best thing that I've ever seen with these eyes.
Thank you. That's still definitely 100% the brand I'm going for. But I just mean in terms of like they might still think that I'm like sort of putting out the same stuff that I was, say, like a year ago. Not to say any of the stuff I put out I'm not proud of, because obviously I wouldn't have put it out in the first place, but it's a different sound now than what they would be expecting. Do you know what I mean? It's tough, isn't it? Because
tough,
especially when you're talking about like the techno thing, because a lot of that is very serious, right?
It is. And that's why I love the serious techno. I don't know. I get it that like a lot of these clubs, I mean, it maybe comes from the fact that also like Germany is one of the biggest like places where techno is like very prevalent, and German people are just generally quite like serious compared to British people who are
like cool scene.
Yeah, it's very cool, and like that's cool, that's fine. But yeah, again, I do want to like, it's finding that balance for me, because I love so much of what I love. One of my favorite festivals in the world, places to be, is Bangface, right? Like the ultimate silly dance music experience, complete nonsense. But at the same time, you'll see me, swaying away and closing my eyes in fold and like really getting lost in it and feeling like I'm not having a silly time. I'm really like totally there to like get lost in this music, right? So
you should be allowed to do both.
Yeah, and it's and one isn't. They're not like mutually exclusive, right? No. Like you can get lost in a crazy donk set or like whatever, like. But it is hard, I think, especially in this country, because I think it's like. It does seem a bit like it's either one or the other, or like a lot of labels are either pushing one or the other, and it's hard to find that like perfect like medium, So I don't know, but even with my stuff, I look back at a year ago at the like Xhelk stuff, which I probably will never even see the light of day, some of the stuff I was making, and it's not like, I think I was just experimenting and trying to find like a bit of a sound of what I want to make. But again, like even my sets now, like I play very multi-genre sets. Like I'll go from techno to, they're all high BPM, and that's the thing that ties them together. But I'm playing techno, electro, donk, hard house, like fun stuff, silly bootlegs into like serious stompers.
Jungle the other weekend.
Yeah, play jungle, play like 160 grime stuff. Like anything goes in my sets, and I love that. That's, and again, another one of the reasons why, like Malati, who was quite a big inspiration for me starting this Xhelk project, like watching her sets, they're very multi-genre, but like really crosses the line between like, she plays some serious like techno sets that are like proper crazy techno, plays some really cool clubs, and then also plays like more like 160 like, or like Das Booty events and things like that, where it's crossing the line between more like jungle techno and like playing slightly more tongue-in-cheek like fun flirty city music, rather than like this is big serious techno to stomp to and get like lost to the music to.
But that's a prime example that you can do both, and I think sometimes people might feel like they have to put themselves in a box to be able to Because it's kind of like what you were saying a minute ago about like you kind of feel like you have to like to not like scare off an audience. It's good to like sort of find like a niche for yourself, but then at the same time it's good to like if you want to be varied, also do that and expect people to just sort of like accept it and deal with it.
And I think that is what I'm sort of at that crossroads where I'm trying to work out what I want to do with that. And I think when I listen to my heart, I think, oh, actually, like I do just what, like the fact that I play multi-genre sets and I have like such a ridiculous, I listen to all sorts of nonsense music all the time. So like, you know, like I think I should just keep pushing the multi-genre stuff and try and like make sure that works for me. I think, you know, you shouldn't have to like pander to like an audience too much or like worry too much. Look at someone like Scream, right? Like he literally just like stopped making dubstep and started making house.
Like fucking tech house,
and then there was like, oh, well, you know, I mean, that is very like Scream's attitude of like, you fucking like it or lump it.
But this is the thing though, is that like that's what he's carved that out for himself to like, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want and you're gonna appreciate it.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
And even then, like, you know, he didn't always make, you know, even when he was in his dubstep era, what's that tune, like Summer Nights? Like that's a beautiful like garage track with like amazing like brass behind it. Like very like, you know, very melodic and happy. It's not like classic Scream dubstep. So, you know, there are these artists who have done amazingly with like either being multi-genre from the beginning or literally just having the same alias and completely changing the sort of music that they were making, and they've been fine. Just having said that, maybe a lot of the time, you know, certainly when Scream started doing the house and techno stuff, like he was already pretty like prolific. But
but I'm sure that you can point to examples of artists. Oh, sorry. There we go. I'll chuck a bit of reverb on that one. You can also like probably point to artists that have had like a change in artistic direction that have been far less well received than the likes of Scream or like others, I guess. Like it's difficult because you were also just talking about the importance of aliases, right? And the importance of like separating that out. But then when you point to like, I mean, maybe Scream is like a sort of outstanding example, but like it seems like it almost seems like there's really not any rules to this sort of thing, and it's like completely like on a case by case basis whether or not you should sort of start a new alias if you're going down a different route or just stick with it. Because even when you look at someone like Dan, like Longies, he's not changed his alias and he's just pushing a very different sound now to what he was, and he's finding like good success with that. Maybe it's taking a while, but that's the change process. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wasn't he? Didn't he like think about changing the alias as well?
We were debating that for a while about whether or not he should do that, and like I kind of said to him like, look, like I kind of, you know, it's a similar approach where it's like, yeah, basically people are gonna like it or lump it. Like people are still gonna find you organically, like as fans of the new stuff, whilst fans of the old stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? It's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, it's different for you because you didn't have a sort of solo alias right before Xhelk, so this is your almost like strangely like your first actual outing as like a solo artist.
Sure. Yeah,
so I guess for you it's not even like a new alias, it's just like your first sort of solo alias, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that is part of it, like, you know, when you start a new alias or you start making music for a specific project rather than just like sitting in your bedroom making music or whatever, like you do want, you know, there is that process of like finding a sound and like experimenting, and maybe you make some tracks where you're like, actually that's not like, you know, that's not ticking all the boxes, that's not me at like a waste man,
that's not me.
But yeah, so like I don't know, it is different, and obviously I'm not making a switch, like I'm making a massive switch in what I was doing. Like I was, you know, making garage with Earthnote before, but even then, like we've just started making techno, and we released a techno EP even in the middle of all the garage stuff. We just like made this random techno EP. Where actually, if you're listening to this, go and download. I don't even care if you soul seek it. Go and download Earthnut Lizard Ley Lines.
Go and soul seek Lizard Ley Lines.
Lizard Ley Lines is the most slept on Earthnut tune
I love that
ever.
tune. I fucking
it's
love
such
that
a
tune.
banger, and like no one like it's just so slept on. Anyway,
is that the one with the guy who's like talking about the earth at the start?
Yeah, he's
of
talking
it?
about like God. We sampled this like weird like meme video of like these. I think they were just like pretending to be Mormons, and they were talking about like that was it. It was Mormons drop acid for the first time. That was the like title of the YouTube video, and in it they're like, oh, like what if God is a fruit? Is God a fruit?
That's it,
and then they just
yeah.
say, this is nonsense. But I remember when me and Leachy were just like, probably really baked when, well, definitely really baked when we were making that. And we put like, it's got in the middle of it, it's got like, all these really like delayed, like them just like laughing, like, and I remember we were like cracking up as we were making it. And then we were like, oh, this is going to make people like crack up on the dance floor. And like, that's what we wanted. But it's also like a really like cool
I love
tune,
that tune.
so,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think, even with that, like we started making techno and didn't even like really bat an eyelid. And people, we had labels get in touch with us who were into the garage stuff, but like wanted, always saw that it was kind of experimental garage. And then when we were like doing the more techno stuff, they were happy to like release that stuff as well. So yeah, I think it doesn't matter. And I'll go back to that sort of like Rick Rubin quote of being like, you shouldn't have to pander to, like, you should just be making music for yourself. And like, that is, I would hope, where you would find success, at least in like the long run. Like maybe short term, like, yeah, if you like buy a load of Instagram followers and you like buy some like designer clothing and like get a mullet, then then like you might be more successful.
Which one of those relates to me? Buying Instagram followers, buying expensive clothes, or having a mullet? I'm not sure.
Definitely not all three.
Definitely not the expensive clothes. Anyway, Jesus.
But yeah, like I don't know, that might work for like short-term success.
Hasn't worked for me.
Well, I don't know. got more Instagram followers than I have, mate. But yeah, I think like, I don't know, I think as long as you're just like making tunes for yourself, that's the thing as well. Like there's so many mad producers out there that are just doing like crazy stuff in their bedrooms and that will probably never release any of their music and just sit there. And that's fine, because like they're not trying to get clout. They're not trying to play to, 10,000 person warehouse venues. They just like sit there and enjoy making tunes because it's like a little nerdy venture for them,
You said you had someone that sent you those tunes the other day.
Mad. Literally some like 17-year-old kid that is just like sending me these crazy tunes on the Earthnet account that was sick. It's literally sounded like, if I got that email and it was like, oh, this is like a new like Nicky Nair like demo or something, I wouldn't like bat an eyelid, So like, there's people out there, and it's, I don't know, it's tricky because now it is cool. Like, even when I started going to these raves, right, I was at college, like, it wasn't cool to go raving. Like if I said to my mates at college, like, oh, well, I did, people would like take the piss out of me for it. They'd be like, oh, you've been like raving again, Jack. Have you been like going to the rave and all taking your MDMA in the rave? Or like, it wasn't cool. Like it was a bit of this like weird, like outsider thing to do. Do you know what I mean? Because it was a very like underground thing, even still back then. And now it's like,
yeah, saying that now doesn't really doesn't feel real, does it?
Because now it's like, that's one of the reasons why dance floors are so fucking dead. Because you go to a rave and it's just like not trying to throw shade, but it's just kids like TikToking on the fucking dance floor at 2 a.m, And it's like, honey, you look at those TikToks in the morning, you are not going to want to like look at the state of your face right now. But like they're not even dancing. They're just stood there like on their phones the whole time. And I know I sound like such a granddad right now, but I don't care. Like,
you are 29.
I am old. Yeah, shout out. Granddad, gang. But yeah, like I think, I don't know, it has really changed the landscape of what it means to be a DJ and to like want to get involved in it.
Well, that was an absolute corker, wasn't it? It was really just starting to get juicy there as well. If only there was a way where you'd be able to, I don't know, listen to the final half an hour of our conversation. Oh, wait. Patreon.com/Belders, ladies and gentlemen, where you can join the Belders Club for only £5 a month and get half an hour of half an hour of every single podcast episode extra, along with all of our tunes that we've ever released and will ever release completely for free, baby. So yeah, do that if you want to hear the rest of that conversation. It was incredibly interesting, I'm sure you'll agree. And yeah, thanks for listening. Make sure to like on SoundCloud, rate 5 on Spotify, and like on YouTube, etc., etc. I'm probably boring you now, so I'm going to let you bugger off. Okay, goodbye.